Hi everybody, time for video 2. First I want to preface this video with I by no means claim to be enlightened or a professional on any of these topics. They're just based on things I have experienced and conclusions I've come to from my own struggles, my own pain. If it helps you or you think it's interesting, great. If you don't like it or disagree, stop watching my stuff. Anyway, I had to rack my brain about a topic because there's such a complex array of things that contribute to humanity and how our lives perpetuate. But after thinking and listening and talking to people, I decided after the first video on such an important component as self-love, we should discuss something that does the opposite of help us. One of the hindrances, and I see it in abundance with a lot of people. I've struggled with it on my own. It's one of those things that will push me away from someone quicker than anything else, and that's self-pity. I've always been a personal fan of tough love. Everyone has things that work better or worse for them, but the biggest changes I've made, changing my circumstances, is when someone else, or I even tell myself, stop feeling sorry for yourself and do something about it. I get it, like, shit happens. No matter what. I mean, some kind of crisis or misfortune will typically arise in your life, just like good, there's always the bad. Everyone has a different spectrum too. Their happiest happiness and their lowest low. How much something affects them or hurts them is going to be wherever that falls on their spectrum. I always hear people comparing each other's stories, like, oh yeah, well, my life sucks first. Well, how are you going to evaluate someone else's pain and struggle? Everyone has someone worse off than themselves. How many cultures and countries on this planet are still struggling to survive on a daily basis, let alone pissed because their vehicle won't start so they can go buy whatever luxury they feel they need that day? Like they don't have the right kind of pop or something, you know. And if you truly believe that no one else has it worse than you, do you want to wallow in self-pity, or do you want to show people that no matter how hard it gets, if you take action and do the right thing, you can make things better? To me, that scenario seems like a more of a winning strategy. Self-pity, it comes from not understanding a couple things. One is that, some things are out of your control. And two, your actions not only create problems, but they also solve them. Who do you want to be around? Do you want to be around the person who you always got to hear how the world has screwed them or other people has messed them up? Like, that bums me out and takes away from my life in a hard way, because I do care, but if they're never going to do anything to change and make stuff better, it's an unnecessary drain and it just takes away from you. And I don't have time for it personally, but talk about your challenges by all means. But also stay solution orientated. Even if it's small, it's still progress in the right direction. When you have self-pity and aren't focusing on how to make things better, this is when poor decisions are made. Fuck it, it doesn't matter anyway. There's no options. And down you go. You're gonna spiral towards rock bottom in reckless abandon. Or do you want to be around the person who's like, this happened, but I didn't let it get me down. I did this, and now I'm doing great. It was a bump in the road, but I overcame. Be around that person. Pick that person and encourage the person stuck in self-pity to start adopting that opinion and attitude, but not at the expense of your own peace. You should still put yourself first. Help if you can, but it's just, people will wear on you. And this reminds me of actually a scenario a couple months ago. Before I got my new job, I was slipping into this complacency, and I was feeling poorly about my situation and kind of treading in self-pity waters. It's hard when you're at your own personal rock bottom, but one day when I was really low, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try to do something. Instead of spending a couple hours debating if I should kill myself or not, I thought of my list of stuff that I need to do. What would improve my life? One of the big things was I gotta get another job. So I sat down and I wrote my resume and applied at a bunch of places. And because I did this, a week later I started working and had another step in the right direction because I set aside the self-pity and I took action. It was a huge sense of relief, and even the night I wrote my resume, just by accomplishing that small thing and taking that small step in the right direction, I felt a lot better because I knew I was doing what I should to improve things rather than dwelling the circumstances that wasn't going to change unless I did something about it. Like, nothing's going to just fall into your lap. Nothing's going to. If you have people to do stuff for you, lucky you, but you're not going to feel as accomplished as if you just go do it yourself and make the change. And it's funny, we lie to ourselves because we look at these quick, convenient ways to solve our problems. I tend to call them band-aids. It can be drugs, alcohol. Sadly, sometimes people resort to stuff like suicide. But when did that fix anything? Like, do you want to fix it or do you want to make it worse? Because every choice you make, good or bad, there's going to be a reaction to that action. And whether you deal with it right now or in a year or whatever, you will be dealing with it eventually. And it's still going to be you. You just don't identify with that. You only identify with yourself now. But let me tell you what, you in the future is still you. Do you want to feel better because you decided to start eating right? Or do you want to be crying in the bathroom next week because you stepped on the scale after deciding to smash on an extra large pizza and a box of Krispy Kreme donuts? You know, do you want that bill paid and that peace of mind because you decided to grab an extra shift or whatever? Or do you want to be facing your utilities shut off or your eviction notice because you wanted a cute outfit or, you know, Nike sneakers or the next high that just temporarily hid all your problems but actually just made them worse? I mean, sometimes we feel like we can't. And that's why I also promote this thing that you don't find a lot anymore, and that's boosting others up. Don't hurt others. You know, encourage them that they can overcome their issues. They can make it better because we all can, actually. But you get this plague of negativity that starts to bind all these lows together, and it's become an epidemic. I believe, too, when you help others, it helps you. Doing these videos makes me feel good about myself. Why? I don't know. Might help somebody somewhere, might make something make sense to them, and smile and, you know, tell that other person you believe in them and give them ideas if they're suffering and encourage them to be strong because maybe one day it'll come back to you when you need it too, because when people see you trying, they're a lot happier to give you a hand. And at some point, this cycle of hatred for other people and their successes should become pride in other people's strength and inspiration to pull out of your own mess. Otherwise, what kind of world are we leaving our families and our future? This isn't a competition. You don't have to be better. You don't have to have more misery than the other person. You don't need to fail, or they don't need to fail for you to succeed. Stop blaming others and stop feeling sorry for yourself. Think proactive and escape the self-pity as a step in the right direction. Don't feel bad about your life. Think of ways to fix the problem. And it might not go as quickly as you'd like. There is something to be said for that peace of mind that comes with knowing that you're at least pointed in the right direction. Anyway, I hope you guys like and share my video, and have a good night.